If you're getting this message in your BMW, I'm here to help you fix it by yourself. So here are the fault codes that we have. Intake Vanos 2, so that means bank 2 Vanos intake is malfunctioning. The most common cause of this fault code is the Vanos solenoid. So how you can diagnose it? Basically swap the solenoids from exhaust to intake and see if the code travels. You clear the codes and then see what happens. Then we have oxygen sensor before catalytic converter and oxygen sensor before catalytic converter bank 2. So those codes will basically not trigger the drivetrain malfunction, but they will not allow you to pass smog. So I will address that in the video as well. And we have another one, Vanos inlet 2. That's intake solenoid for the Vanos usually, but the code indicates that the Vanos on bank 2 intake camshaft is malfunctioning. So we have two codes basically for the Vanos bank 2, and I'm going to be replacing the Vanos solenoids today. What's up guys, my name is Tim, and today we have the E70 BMW X5 with notorious, infamous N63 engine. So it's an XDrive50i, twin turbo V8, has a lot of problems. We're going to be replacing the Vanos solenoids and the oxygen sensors before catalytic converters. So let's get to it. Let's address drivetrain malfunction message. What it means? Basically it means something's wrong, either with the engine or transmission, but usually 80% of the time it's the engine. And why I don't want you guys to Google it, like what BMW X5 E70 drivetrain malfunction is, because it will not tell you anything. The drivetrain malfunction is a generic message that, as I said before, something's wrong with the engine. What could it be? It could be the faulty fuel injector, it could be faulty ignition coil, it could be faulty Vanos solenoids, which we're replacing today, it could be a faulty turbo, it could be something else, but it's so many possibilities. So when you Google it and you get led into direction of something, it's not necessarily means that it's applied to your car. So first thing first, you gotta have a scan tool that can read at least something. Even the most generic scan tool will give you some understanding of what's going on with your car. Without it, don't even try it, honestly. Just stay away from forums and Google trying to find out what it means for your car if you have no fault codes at all in front of you read from your car. If you're new to the channel, please explore all available content on multiple BMW body types, engine types, and repairs on the channel. Consider subscribing. Drop a like, share the video, and if you have any questions, comment below. And for returning viewers, of course, thank you for watching. And fellas, all of you, hit that like button. I want you to see engaged, and it's not for YouTube, it's just for me to understand that you like this kind of. Once again, let's get into the process of replacing the Vanos solenoids. So here how this video is gonna go. First of all, I'm gonna show you the list of tools you need to do the job. Secondly, I'll discuss the parts that you need for this job, what brands, etc. And third, of course, we'll go through DIY itself. First thing first, we're gonna pop the beauty cover. It's on clips, rubber grommets. There we go. Now we will need to disconnect the air filter boxes, and you'll need to loosen this one, this clamp, and the other one. I want you to loosen them both. Reason for it, you'll need to slide this rubber intake boot over just like that, so you have clearance for air filter box to be taken away. Now we have the mass airflow sensor, so it's a standard squeeze and release. I'll just put screwdriver right here, take it off, and then we have this metal, it's sort of a spring right here. There we go, and just put it out of the way. Remove the oxygen sensor wiring holders, and that's pretty much it. The rest of it sits just on clips. And this one, of course. Okay. Now I'm gonna remove this intake duct. So it's just like that, front and back. And disconnect it. Just wiggle it around. Be careful. There we go. We'll need to remove those and this bar right here, reinforcement bar. Now we have 13 millimeters right here, just counterclockwise, 90 degrees, 4 of them. Now we're going to remove this plastic piece, and we have 10 millimeter bolt right here, 10 millimeter bolt right here. We don't have it, but it should be there. And then Torx 25 on this end, and Torx 25 right under the windshield wiper motor right here. We don't have it, but it should be there. There also should be Torx 25 right here and there, and there should be more plastic. Of you probably guys have it, maybe not. There's Torx 25 going this way and this way, but this one is all broken up, so we don't have it here. Now we have this reinforcement bar. I'm just going to be removing it for ease. Let's put it this way. So those are 15 millimeter bolts. There we go. Now we can move this air filter box out of the way, finally. Now I'm going to pop this wire off. And we have 2 on each side, 13 millimeter bolts, 2 here and 2 there. And then I'll remove this reinforcement bar. Now I'm gonna empty, sort of, the coolant expansion tank. There we go. I am going to be using the regular hand pump, so I'll just put it in there and extract as much as I can. Should be approximately a quart, maybe quart and a half, sometimes it's 2 quarts. Just take your time with it. For better airflow, basically, later on we'll just disconnect this hose, so it's standard BMW. Don't need to fully remove it, just leave it off. More coolant will be flowing. Next one, the coolant expansion tank is empty. Next one is this one. Gotta empty this one out as well. Shouldn't be much here, but we don't want to make a mess. What are we doing it for? We will need to remove this cooler, and it's water cooled, so to make as little mess as possible. This is it. Next one, I'll prepare myself to remove the radiator fan, and for that we'll need to move this one out of the way. Second air duct. And those hoses, well, primarily this one. Well, we can still leave it on, I would say, but pop it off from the radiator fan to get some clearance. It's easier to disconnect, of course. Everything's loose. Wouldn't be much coolant coming out, but have your catch can ready right there. This is out of the way. There's a big electrical connector, squeeze and release, standard BMW right here on the passenger side. There we go, it's out of the way. And now I'll show you how to remove it. Now we have a tab right here, so you gotta press it and lift the fan up and hold it. The other tab is on the other side. It's really hard to show you guys, but it's right there. It's right under the upper radiator hose. So you tap it, I mean, you push it and lift it up. Now, in order to remove the radiator fan, you'll need to bend this side of the fan. It's hard to show you guys. It's easier to do with the hand. There you go. So it moves just like that. And then you take it out of the way. Now we can remove the radiator fan. Relatively easily, but there's still some things on the way. Like hoses connections at the bottom. Yep, let's take that out. There we go, just be patient with it. Don't rush it. Now we're gonna disconnect second coolant hose. A little bit of coolant coming out. There we go. And the purge valve, standard squeeze and release connector, and this vacuum line right here. Just need to move it sort of out of the way. I'll just disconnect it from here. This is a 10mm right here. And next up, this sensor right down here. I'd say better get the pick tool so you don't break it, and I will too. Put the pick tool just like that. We almost get to the point of removing this whole thing. Now let's disconnect this line to the turbo. I recommend you fully taking this bolt out. Yep, doing it just like that. You see, take this back, put the bolt back in. Put it somewhere. Now let's clear the area a little bit, because the Vanos solenoids are kind of behind this thing, right under. It's held by three 10mm bolts, but it's really hard to see them, so I'm just going to be opening up some space for the hoses to be moved. Also, prepare your catch can under the car for the coolant spillage, because I'll need this disconnected as well. Upper radiator hose. So just gotta create a clear path for removal. There's also throttle body right here, and we do have, I think it's 7mm clamp right here. The screwdriver will not fit, so I'll loosen that and disconnect the connector just to clear it out. Like, I don't really need to, as far as I remember, but just to clear it out, declutter the space. It's gonna make the repair easier. Now I have the 7mm socket and 3-inch extension to just loosen this clamp on the throttle body. It's not tight at all, so yeah, just let it loose. It will help you, of course, later on to remove this whole thing. And now, yeah, it's loose enough. I'll just do a little bit more. Now the second 10mm bolt is right here, where the screwdriver is, right there. I'm going to be using the 6-inch extension with the deep 10mm socket. You don't need deep one, you can use a regular one, just like this one. Follow me, follow the extension right here. They're not tight at all, they just in sort of tough spots, and especially when you're reinstalling it. But as long as you know where they are, you'll make it. I believe in you guys. There we go. That's another one. Next up is right down there on the other side. Look where I'm using the same tool, deep socket, 6-inch extension. It's right there. Now let's disconnect the purge valve. So it's basic squeeze and release connector. It might work like that, it might not. Start from the bottom. There we go. Just needed to be out of the way. Now this the last hardest bolt. I got the socket and extension in there. I'm using the same thing. So that's the third bolt of this cooler. It will most likely fall. That's the last piece. Now after I remove it, we can move this thing out of the way entirely. Alright. I recommend using the magnet to get the bolt out. There it is. Now, so in total we have, well, technically 4 bolts, but the fourth one is not holding this to the engine block basically. So the first 10mm right here, or right on top for this thing, purge valve, and then 1, 2, and the bottom is 3. So let's move this thing out of the way since everything is loose. Let's disconnect this wire to make it easier. One is a 13mm. There we go. And I'll put it back in place. Right here we have the Vanos solenoids, finally. That's the items we need to replace. I'm going to be replacing both of them, and I recommend just replace both of them since you're getting in here. As you can see, it's kind of a struggle to get to this point. So those are easy, quick release connectors. Just push and move it out of the way. As you can see, those connectors are different in a way, and one is shorter, the other one is longer, so you can't really mess them up. Those Vanos solenoids are held by 10mm bolts. Gonna remove those. If you're diagnosing this thing and want to see if it's really the solenoids or not, just swap them out. But at this point, I mean, it's not that simple as on the, let's say, N55, N54, or N52 engines. It's a way to get to this thing, so I'd rather go in here and just replace it right away. And if it's not it, just I will at least know that's a brand new solenoids in there. Okay, now, finally, taking the solenoids out. Here's how to do it. Just pry it out a little bit. There we go. Once it's out, expect some oil to come out. Prepare the rug. I'll just put my shop towel right there. Because this Vanos solenoids are driven by oil. There we go. Look at that. This is a filtering element, sort of. It's like it has such. This is dirty. It's like, so what's inside of this solenoid? Like, I can't really tell. Look at that. Yeah, that's definitely not good. Frequent oil changes. More frequent the better. On this engine, I could even say 3,000 to 5,000 miles. Proper oil. Good full synthetic castor oil. Yeah, that's not good. That's the intake solenoid. As you can see, guys, this one exhaust solenoid actually looking better. There's still some contamination right here, but it wasn't enough to trigger the issue, and I'm not telling you 100% that this is why it is, but in this case, the solenoids, and we'll find out in the end if it's the issue or not. So stay tuned till the end. But yeah, that's first filtering element of the solenoid. Let's replace both of them. Let's talk parts. Today I have the Febi solenoids. That's the only one I had available in the catalog. The other option we have, this is on the lower end, lower cost solenoids, and I didn't have any problems with them in the past, but those definitely on a lower spectrum of the cost. The other one I would recommend would be Pierburg. Those are great, never had problems with those either, and those, I think the Pierburg is OEM, and of course the Genuine is available, but that's the most expensive one. So here's the part numbers and everything, but I will be posting the part numbers in the description of the video, so don't worry about it. For the solenoids and for the oxygen sensor, we're still going to replace those. Here's how it comes. It's a little bit pre-lubricated already, but putting some oil is not gonna hurt. It has its seal right here and it's already pre-lubed. As you can see, this is the updated solenoid, so it has 3 filtering, like this filtering mesh. It's everywhere. Compared to the old one, it has only 1 out of 3. So this is the updated, definitely solenoids, and they work better. Just something for you to know. There we go. Just make sure you press it all the way in, just like that. I'll put 1 and another one. And now the second one. All the way in. And now adjust it to fit the 10mm bolts that hold them in place. There it is. Definitely hand tight the bolts first, because since you're standing up, it's not very clear that they're aligned, and they might be not, and if you force it, that's definitely nothing good. Like here, I see from the top that it's aligned, but it's not actually. Push it down a bit more. There we go. Just take your time with it, guys. Might be a little bit frustrating, but not that bad. So yeah, the bolt goes normally in. And I'll push it one more time. Now, final step, don't forget to plug it in, of course. I'll push this bracket and all the way down. Sits well. And the other one. There we go. Now we can install the cooler back. Before I do that, I just clean up the throttle body a little bit. And we are ready to go. So now we're ready to install the cooler back in place. Here's the bolts location, guys. Well, you'll see it, of course, but this is how it's sitting on the engine approximately. So you're looking at it. This is the long 10mm, and those two are short 10mm you took off from the cooler. And of course, a good tip is to just drain the cooler from coolant. Go across all the wires. Alright. Alright. Yep, and it should fit just like that. Now let's put that back in place. That'll do for now. Now I'll start with the bolts first. The clamp would be the last to be installed. Well, the standard rule, fellas, hand tight first and then tighten it, because this thing should be movable to install all the bolts. I'm not even going to be hand tightening it, so just put it on, it's there. The next one is a difficult one, you'll need a light for that. Next bolt will be the top one, the long 10mm. All you need to do is, I'm using the magnet just to put this in and leave it there. It will stay in place because it has this grommet around it. And now I'm gonna hand tight this one as well. This will make it easier for the last, most difficult bolt right near the throttle body. Yep, this bolt is in. Same rule. And now we'll be able to install the last bolt. Pro tip, get the magnetic socket. I don't have one. I regret it now. I'm gonna be using the magnet to thread it in a little bit. There we go. Make this one tight as well. Got it. So all 3 bolts are in, just make them tight and we'll proceed. Don't forget to tighten this clamp right here for the throttle body. Now this clamp is tight. Don't forget to plug in your throttle body, otherwise you'll have the drivetrain malfunction again, just because of that, of course. And then this sensor right here. So those are plugged in. We can reintroduce the purge valve and the 10mm right there. Those are pretty straightforward. And now we're returning all the hoses back in place. There we go. Let's connect our back and the vacuum line. And now, there we go. And I'll put this one when this line when I install the radiator fan. Let's put the fan back in. Expect stuff to be on the way, like hoses. So just carefully slide it in. There's gonna be AC lines on the way right here, so you gotta go around them. It of course hits the lower radiator hose. There we go. Alright, it's fully in, but now I need to release it from this side because don't forget about this piece right here that you need to flip back in place and lock it just like that. Now we can fully install it. There it is, just where it's supposed to be. Don't forget to plug it in, of course. And now we can put this hose back in place. Right here first. And put it where it belongs. And we're almost done here. Now let's install back this clamp. There we go. Hey guys, so here's some bonus content on how to replace the oxygen sensor before catalytic converters. All you basically need is pretty much a proper socket for oxygen sensor. So let's get to it. So here's the oxygen sensors before cats, and we already removed the air filter box from this side. So all you need to do is put this tool right here. It sits. Now, of course, I will need to disconnect the sensor. It's gonna be hard, tough in there. Oh, there we go. Not that tough. After that, it's pretty much just move it. I'll put the links for parts, not the links, but the part numbers into the description. And I'm going to be using Bosch today. Bosch is OEM. Ooh my, running rich, I see. Seems like. Same goes for the second one. Well, of course, in here we have to remove it from the wire holders. Disconnect it. And oh, come on now. There we go. So here's the Bosch sensor. The part numbers are right here, right there. It's all the same. Once again, I'll put the part numbers in the description. Those sensors, bank 1 and bank 2, are the same, and they already come with some anti-seize grease all around it, right there. So yeah, let's just start with bank 1 and then bank 2. Of course, hand tight first, and then use the socket for just a final torque down. There we go. So bank 1 is ready, and let's route it. Good to go. Same goes to bank 2. Now all is left is plug it in, and when we install the air filter box back, just route it in place. So once again, fellas, proper tools is all you need for this job. Just get this socket. Most auto parts stores will have it. It's oxygen sensor socket, so that's all you need. Now I'm gonna install the, well, air filter box back in place, plug in the muff sensor and this one right here. So, and of course, guys, don't forget to fill up both reservoirs. After you do that, technically you can test drive the car and see how it performs with the new parts. Important part, sliding this air intake boot properly. If yours is old, it most likely will break, so get the new one. But it's supposed to be, this one feels fresh. Just make sure it fits properly top and bottom, only then tighten it, just like that. All good. We are done. Now let's do quick coolant system bleeding. So I'll put the key in the ignition, heater to the max, AC off, the fan can stay low. And at this point, since there is a electric coolant pump, the secondary one, but the main one is belt driven, so start the car. Of course, checking the fault codes, so everything looks good so far. That means everything's plugged in, but for the car to get the data of the repairs, we'll need to drive it for a bit to see what happens. While the car is running, both caps, coolant expansion tank and the secondary expansion tank, are off. I want it to be that way for a bit, and then I'm going to close them off. Now it's time for a quick test drive to see if the problem comes back. The car is running great, no fault codes present, everything is good to go. The O2 sensors, although, those take a while to come back, but Vanos solenoids, if there is a problem with the Vanos solenoids, it will pop off right away. So yeah, that's was the case in this particular car. That's definitely a win. This is it, guys. I hope this video was helpful and it brings some clarity into what is drivetrain malfunction and how to diagnose it, sort of. Don't forget to drop the like, share the video. If you have any questions regarding this topic or any other repair I have on the channel, comment below. And of course, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.